he goes, yeah, because I can see you. Yeah? Ready? Right, boom.
What happened?
No, I mean, everything's just messed up. I mean, it's like 2 days I've been away, and it's like,
I don't know. Who is working here? You? Or
no, because I've been away 2 days, and it's like, it's, the
I
studio's,
don't know because you were working with this Mivo and Six. I work with Mivo and everything.
no, I'm just saying that the Mevo wasn't set up. It wasn't even on. I had to log in all the login information. I had to log in all the login information there. It's like I literally had to set it up again.
I don't know what you have done for here.
No, I haven't done anything. That's my point.
No, I don't know.
That's
Because
my
I
point.
went here.
It's like what's happened, man? Okay, let's have a look. Actually, no, let's not do that. Let's do this. That's it, perfect. Stream. Let's do this. That's the previous recording. That's it, perfect.
Remove it.
Yeah, I'll remove it. Is that Facebook or YouTube?
Facebook.
Come on. Where is that?
I don't know.
That's not.
It is live.
Come on. No, it's not because I'm not there. It's not live. It's a. Where is that?
This is live.
That's not. That's not Facebook or YouTube.
This is live. Don't talk. Your voice is coming.
Yeah.
because they're kind of hoping that we make enough noise in like protests that we're not getting the teaching, that like cumulatively it's enough like snowballing effect that they get like their rises or pensions, etc. But yeah, it is a shame, and they did apologise. You know, it's nothing, like it's not personal, which sounds really obvious, but like I think at the time it can feel like a very like attack kind of like move. You're like, hey, like we've had a really good relationship, why are you just kind of giving up on me kind of thing. Especially for third years who have got like dissertation tutors.
Goodness. Yes.
I think
can you imagine being a final year student in 2020?
Absolutely.
And the
shambles.
stress levels anyway.
And then like to add insult to injury, no graduation. Like, just
no graduation, no celebratory drinks, no going to the pub with your friends. I mean, I remember when I graduated last summer, we had our last French exam at the end of May. And then we finished at about 1 o'clock, and then it was so great actually, because we finished our exam and then we all went to the pub. We were in the pub for a good 5 or 6 hours, and then then our lecturers came to the pub, which probably
I rate that.
I don't know if that's allowing when you graduate as well. It's a really special thing. Obviously, if your parents come as well when you have graduation, it's a really, and to be there with all of your friends as well.
And I feel like a lot of people do kind of like imagine it in their mind's eye. Like I know I always have kind of picturing my graduation day and like what am I going to wear and like where will we go. And I know that when I saw the like the photos from like your graduation and like Mary's and everything, like it was stunning. Like the grounds were done really nicely. Queen Mary's actually a campus university, bizarrely in London, but it is very like compact, which was really nice. So yeah, it looked absolutely beautiful. So yeah, I'm just
and that will be you next year.
Hopefully.
Yes.
Pandemic allowing, we won't tempt fate with COVID.
No, hopefully not.
I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, no, it's definitely an adapting kind of time.
So do you think you'll go into uni at all? So when do you actually start uni back?
So I think we're meant to start on the 21st.
Okay.
The week of the 21st. And actually it's really annoying. All my webinars are on a Monday.
Okay.
Which is just so not ideal. So I can obviously access my other lectures at other times.
Yeah. So will those webinars be put online as well?
I presume so. Okay. So these will be the seminars, but it is annoying because obviously I won't actually have time to watch the lectures before my 3 seminars on the Monday.
Right.
So I'll be having to sit through the webinars, having hopefully done the reading. We won't go there.
Having done the reading,
and having a good grounding in the topic we're discussing, and then I'll have to watch the lectures. So it's not ideal. And you know, if I could spread out my timetable slightly more, I would. But I did prioritise, you know, the classes that I wanted to go to. You know, if I dropped one and took another one, I could probably have a more even timetable. But I really like what I signed up for, so I'm not willing to compromise that. It's just gonna be a fairly hectic Monday. I think I'm back to back for 4 hours on my laptop.
Okay, yeah, that is pretty intense.
I'm really hoping. Well, I know that in lockdown, like the tutors were very easy, and people were eating on calls and.
Oh really?
Yeah, no, getting a coffee, going for toilet breaks. It was actually hilarious. So, in one of our French lectures, which was the year below, because I took some credits in the year below, so they were first years. There was one girl who was obviously at the pub or in some kind of park. And she was just having a cigarette on the webinar, and then someone walked past her and she's like oh, blah blah, you know your webcam's on. And she was mortified.
Did she not realise she was on? How can you not realise you're on?
Absolutely hilarious. She had really bad connection, so it did keep breaking up, but we kept getting glimpses of her. There was wind blowing. She was having a cigarette on a park bench.
So she must have been on her phone.
Yeah. It was absolutely hilarious. But yeah, you see all sides of people when you're in the comfort of their own home.
Yeah, I agree. It's very interesting seeing someone's. It's interesting getting a glimpse into their house as well.
Absolutely.
I always have a very, very neutral white background, pressed right up against the wall, because I just don't want people to see my house.
No, that's so fair. I'm gonna start doing that as well. I think in lockdown it was just so haphazard that I just had kind of my room on display, which is fine. But I think I'd like to start third year as I mean to go on, and maybe have a separate room so I can at least kind of separate work and relaxation. And even maybe like access some things on campus, hopefully. That would be quite good.
So is Freshers Week the week before the 21st?
So I know Welcome Week, which could be Freshers Week. I'm not really sure. They weren't very clear.
I think Freshers Week is usually Welcome Week.
Okay, well that's next week, I know.
Oh, next week?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's quite early. Okay,
yeah, I don't know whether they're having maybe 2 weeks for it, or... Because I presume the whole fair thing won't be open either.
Gosh,
it just really sucks.
The fair is so much fun as well, because that's when you go, that's for people who don't know, that's when you go around all of these stalls. There are loads of different societies, and they say, you know, come join the baseball society, that exists, or you know, the netball society, and that's when you think, oh, I'll try this kind of thing, and that's when you meet people, you know, from a particular society, and that's when you kind of think, oh yeah, I'd like to join that. That sounds fun.
Yeah, and you might run into your friends. I remember last year I was
you meet
massively excited because they got one of the Love Island stars.
Did they?
They did.
What, at uni?
Yes.
Who was it?
It was, I think her name was Alexandra.
Oh right.
Actually, and she.
What was she doing?
She was just kind of there, like. Smiling, taking pictures with people.
Oh, so like an appearance.
Yeah, okay. She wasn't, you know, a fresher or anything, sadly.
Yeah.
But I was very, very excited by that. And obviously Domino's normally has like a huge
that's another
following.
Highlight.
There's like free pizza all round. You're living off pizza for the next 10 years essentially, which is great.
Yeah.
Free donuts as well. Boohoo had like a collaboration last year with Krispy Kreme, which was like the most, like the best collaboration I could have thought of, which was brilliant. So shopping vouchers and free donuts, which was really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just presume none of that will be happening this year.
And it's such a shame, isn't it? Because that's when you really get a feel of the university itself as well, because you see all of their students, you see, you know, the type of people there are at university. It's such a great way to meet people, because obviously when you sign up for a society, that's when you start talking to, you know, the person doing the society, and you say, oh, so how does this work? They say, yeah, come along on Thursday or whatever.
Exactly.
And it's a really, really great way to meet people, to sign up for stuff, and to just feel a bit more included, I guess, and to really get off on a good start at university.
Yeah, and I just feel like a lot of students, they don't tend to realise or bother to access like all the societies online.
I completely agree.
Which is fair enough, but it is kind of going around in person that you really get a feel for it kind of thing.
100%.
So I did my first year at Leeds, in Leeds, and I signed up to like most things in the welcome fair, but I wouldn't have done that had I not spoken to the people and been like, oh, they're really friendly.
Exactly.
So, you know, I signed up for like Buddhist meditation. I signed up for cross country, which was very quickly dropped. I signed up for pole dancing.
Okay.
I didn't actually go.
I didn't know that was a society.
Yeah, there was a surf society as well. So when I
Leeds?
Yeah, they used to go to like the coast.
Yeah.
I don't know where. I mean, I'm not a surfer, but I did. It was really interesting, and they had a swimming pool there, so I mean, they could kind of like paddleboard. But yeah, I remember coming to Queen Mary and being like massively disappointed that there was no surf society.
Yeah.
And someone was like, where would we go? Like the River Thames or like the Mile End Canal. I was like, yeah, no, that's true. Fair play.
Very far away from any beaches, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that like I do the student radio at university, and like I don't really know what the students' union is saying in terms of being open. I'm hoping that, you know, they will be having the studio open and we will be able to go in.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's all, we haven't heard anything on that front. We had like recently like the elections for like the new like head of the radio and stuff. But yeah, I haven't heard anything so far about timetables, which is a bit odd because normally they... Yeah, no, we'll see. I'm hoping that it's just a bit early days and we'll get some more clarity soon. Yeah,
I think also you haven't heard your results yet, have you?
Yeah,
so maybe they need to process your results and then think, right, okay, she's definitely going to be on this module kind of thing, and then they can work out doing timetables maybe. Yeah,
no, that's fair play. But yeah, it's still kind of, I'm still feeling that back to school, back to uni kind of buzz. It is really exciting.
Such a strange one, isn't it?
Yeah, I just always get that kind of buzz from like on the 1st of September our timetables were released. And I was like, here we go, third year.
And what about your friends and classmates? Are they all in London? Are they all going to be working from home, or are some of them going to be coming into uni? Or
well, most of them are Londoners. So I was friends with a lot of the year above because I went back a year. So they've obviously graduated, and a lot of them have just gone back home to Oxfordshire, etc.
Okay.
Working. But yeah, of the people I know in my current year now, yeah, they've all moved back. So they're in like not student accommodation, but like accommodation in Mile End. Although I don't think they will be coming into uni. I don't get that impression anyway.
Yeah.
I know my friend that I do the radio with, he's currently living in a flat in, I think, Whitechapel, which is just around the corner.
Yeah.
And he's really enjoying, and I think it was more a question of just like moving out. He lives like in the suburbs and he didn't want to stay at home. I've got another friend who's just found an amazing place on Brick Lane.
Okay.
Really
nice.
cheaply. It was an Airbnb, but obviously they're doing terribly right now. So they're selling excuse me, they're selling a lot of Airbnbs or like renting them out cheaply for students.
Okay.
So they've copped an Airbnb above like some kind of like vintage store on Brick Lane, which is amazing.
Trendy.
Really cool. So I'll be around there a lot, I'm sure. But yeah, no, of my friends, most of them are moving back to the area, but I don't know how much they'll be in and on campus.
Yeah.
Although it seems a bit of a shame not to be, given that you are around the corner.
Yeah, it does. But as you say, if everything is going online, there's not really any need to go to uni, apart from obviously the social aspect, which doesn't apply at all here because no one is really going to be there.
I feel like
your
you'd
friends are
probably
going to
have
be
more
there.
of a social aspect at home.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I'm actually living at home this year. I was thinking of moving out, but I mean it just worked out. I'm very lucky. I live about 20 minutes away from uni, so I just, given everything and how like haphazard it's been, I was like, is there any point right now? And it is quite stressful organising like virtual flat tours, etc.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'll be staying at home, but for me, going onto campus would be my social with my friends.
Exactly. Yeah,
so I'm kind of hoping that people do go in, so I can like socialise with people my own age.
Yeah. Well, at least will still probably be freshers on campus, presumably.
Yeah.
But there are just going to be loads and loads of freshers and no lecturers.
Yeah,
it's going to be
very odd.
Yeah, so it'll be very, very strange
So
for us oldies as well.
Yeah, no, in a parallel universe, what do you think you would have done? Would you have gone back to Swansea for your third year?
No, I don't think so. I really, no. It's difficult. I think obviously everyone's course is different, and obviously I did languages, so I have no idea how they would go about going online, because so much of our course was practical, so speaking lessons, listening lessons. I don't know how much of that you could do online, because we need to do those lessons, we had to go into the lab, we had to record ourselves, we had to all listen to, a bit like this actually, we all had to have headphones on, and we all had to have headphones on and listen to the recording all at the same time so that it was fair. I don't know how much of that you could do online. Although I do remember we did have to do a listening test at home one time, but even with that, there's no policing, and we could only listen to it a certain number of times. Obviously, when we were in the lab, we would listen to it all together, and then we would only hear like 15 seconds of one part, kind of thing.
Rachel, it was the stress of my life. I did like one.
I loved it. It
Listening was not for me.
It is quite a lot. It's probably one of the hardest parts of learning a language, I think.
100%.
But the transcript was always quite difficult, because you got given a transcript with words missing from it, and you had to fill in the words. Based on the conversation that was happening. So a bit like us having a conversation now. Someone would have to fill in the gaps of what we're saying, essentially, and words would be missing. So.
But they're always like the really hard words. It's never like and or like
and the transcript was always taken from the from the conversation the quickest part of the conversation. So it would be like and then move on, kind of thing. Then it would be something else, another question.
I was like very, very lucky. So I did one French module last year, and they weren't prepared for pandemic and lockdown and no exams. And obviously French is like massively exam based. So we had a couple, like I think it was the week before lockdown, we had our written test, and like luckily that's my strongest area in French. So like I did fairly well in that, and I was absolutely dreading the spoken exam and the listening, which were to come in I think like May. And they cancelled all of them, not even a take-home exam, and suddenly, for me ideal, but suddenly our written and our listening pre-Christmas listening exam counted for 100%.
That's ridiculous.
And so obviously some people were absolutely fuming because that was their weakest area. They've been banking on the spoken and
absolutely
the listening. So for me, I amazingly passed quite well in French.
Well done.
Thank you. I mean, I wouldn't have had I done the other exams. It would have dragged me down. But I can only imagine that this year they can't just be cutting out an entire section of the language.
Well, I think also it must be quite difficult if you've been told from the very beginning of the year, right, okay, as it's laid out to you in French, they say, right, okay, you're going to do an exam just before Christmas. This will account for 15% of your overall mark. Then you're going to have another test in March and then another one in...
And you plan your revision around that.
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of think, right, okay, this is only 15%. Not that we're obviously saying, oh, it's only 15% of the exam, I'm not going to bother with it kind of thing. But you do kind of think, okay, well, this is 15%. I'm going to try my best on it, but it doesn't matter because I've got the final exam in May, which is worth more kind of thing. So that mentality is obviously going to influence your grade and the amount of revision that you do, especially during that time when things are a bit crazy anyway. To then suddenly be told 6 months later, oh, by the way, we're counting that as 100% of your mark. It must be so frustrating and you must kind of think, but this is not what I can do. Kind of thing.
I think like that's why they introduced the 30 credit no detriment kind of policy.
Maybe
for people like that, it's just not fair. Like had I been purely assessed on my like listening and speaking, I'd really need those 30 worst credits not to be counted because that's not a fair representation of what I can do.
Well, I think it's that's also the case with the whole GCSEs and A levels debacle because as far as I'm aware, that's what's been done with GCSEs, in that a lot of teachers have in that the government have said, oh, don't worry, we'll use your mock exams kind of thing. So the same kind of thing. If you've been told, you know, oh, you've got a mock exam, and you kind of think, oh, mock exam, you know, I did terribly in my mock exams. Yeah, but I think mock exams are really, really important because if you do badly in your mock exams, it can then give you the momentum and the motivation to think, right, okay, I really need to pull my finger out. I really need to work hard for these. So it can be a really, really good incentive to, you know, work as much as you can for the final exam.
And equally, I think some teachers mark you down,
exactly,
knowing that you might work harder.
I think also they make mock exams harder, but mock exams are always really, really hard. I always remember like mock exams being really, really difficult because then, as you say, I would always tell myself, okay, but okay, at least now I know what to expect for the final exam kind of thing. So I know what you know, revision to do and what to focus on and everything. But then to suddenly, as you say, be told, oh, by the way, you know, they're now really important. It must just be. Do
you know how the government rectified that? I didn't really like follow the whole debacle.
So I think with A levels they took predicted grades. Okay. I think. No, that's not true.
I feel like they did initially.
No, I think it was one thing. Yeah. And then it was the algorithm, wasn't it? They were doing the algorithm, and then I think at the last minute they decided that the algorithm didn't work. Funnily enough. Yeah. And then I think with GCSEs, they went with predicted grades. Okay. So the teachers marked up, the teachers gave their predicted grades of their students. And unsurprisingly, there was a huge increase in the number of students that got A's and A stars, for example. Of course. Which I think, again, you know, how fair is that? Because as a GCSE student, you would then think, well, did I get that grade because I worked really, really hard throughout the year, or did I get it because I was marked up? Do you know what it must be so difficult to kind
of... It's not really fair on the student. It kind of sets you up to fail, because you might go into like I started A-level maths, and you know, I do fairly well at GCSE, but
there's a huge step up from GCSE to A-level, isn't there? Yeah. It's and that step up is huge anyway. But bearing in mind everything that's happened over the past year, I think it's going to make, unfortunately, it's going to make the step up from GCSE to A-level much harder for those going into A-levels now, because the step up is huge anyway. Yeah. Combined with the fact that you haven't done any exams, you've got grades for subjects that you haven't taken an exam in.
Absolutely.
So how can you be expected to do AS levels?
Exactly, and I'm sure like not many students have been like working throughout summer or anything, not knowing what's going to be happening this year.
Well, they haven't had any exams. So
well, yeah.
If you're 15,
it's been a long time since like study and everything.
Yeah.
It'd be very difficult to get back into. And like kind of what baffles me is that, fair enough, uni is saying that, you know, we can't go back in person because that would be unfair on some students. But then the schools are going back, and I'm a bit like, So Boris wants everyone back in the office. Great form of childcare. I'm just bitter. Ignore me. I'm sorry. But
no, carry on. It's a fair point.
If that's kind of the principle.
Well, I think they are going back fairly staggered. So I think from Monday to Wednesday it's year 11, year 9, year 7.
Right.
Maybe I'm just making this up, but they're not having the whole cluster of students in school all at the same time. I think they are. Yeah, they are staggering it slowly. But then you've still got the childcare issue. So what do you do if your child is in Monday, Tuesday, but then at home Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? But I think at this point, the government are saying we want all children to be back in school, which I think is a good thing. It can only be a good thing.
So in schools, I know teachers are now having to wear masks. A lot of my friends work in like nursery settings, and they are having to wear like a face mask in the workplace. Do you know if students are going to be having to?
Again, I think that's something of a confusion, because from what I've been reading, I think some schools have told parents that children have to wear masks when they're in corridors, but not in the classroom, supposedly. But then obviously other schools are saying, they don't have to wear masks are optional. So there's a lot of mixed messaging from schools to parents, I think, but not through any fault of the schools or the parents or anything, but I think because
uncertainty.
It is just so uncertain at the moment, and no one really knows what the rules are, essentially.
Absolutely.
So,
I don't know, have you been to like many public spaces since like everything's kind of eased up a bit?
I've been to the park quite a bit, which is good. The park is good for just, there are lots of runners and cyclists, and everyone is doing sport in the park, which is good. Been to the supermarket quite a lot. I haven't been to any nightclubs or any bars.
Rach, you do surprise me.
I know, but what can I say? But yeah, I don't. It's weird because in London things do feel fairly normal in a sense. It does feel like things are back to normal, kind of. But then obviously the only thing is that everyone's wearing masks.
That's the thing.
But
I think if you were to have like a flash forward from this time last year, everything would look the same. Like I'm looking at now at kind of like the market on like Bowchurch Street. And I can see people in masks, but obviously people are looking at the racks and going to supermarkets, like kind of normal. A couple of weeks ago, I actually went to the Tate Britain, and it was a really odd experience because it was on one of the very, very hot days, and so inside we still had to wear masks, which was like very uncomfortably hot. And it just the exhibition we saw had started pre-lockdown, and they'd kept the layout the same. Post lockdown, so there wasn't like distancing between pictures, if that makes sense. So I presume that new exhibitions, they will be just more spaced out and in more rooms to accommodate like more people, or in a wider capacity. But a lot of the pictures were arranged, kind of back to back in some cases. And I just think in general galleries are very badly designed. Like it was a big room, but everyone is on like around the walls, and then there was like a huge cavernous space in the middle, and I was like, so it would kind of make more sense to have kind of like pillars with like paintings in like spaced out on the floor kind of thing, in like more of a sculpture layout. But it just didn't really make any sense, because obviously you had to kind of like book your session, and there was only a certain number of people that could go in, but then everyone was at like the same place. And again in the shops, when I went to Urban Outfitters the other week, they were being very careful about letting in like 20 or 30 people at a time. But then there was a sale rack, and there were 20 and 30 people at the sale rack. And I was like...
Well, so how does that work in terms of... I guess you should probably sanitise your hands, but when you go shopping, you pick up stuff and you look at clothes, you touch clothes and everything. And not everyone sanitizes when they come in, do
Yeah,
they?
no. So I'm actually starting some voluntary work. I went for an induction night before last at Selfridges.
Okay.
Yeah, with Oxfam, but I'm working with like the clothes, everything. So we had like a bit of an induction of how they're doing it. And so I was quite surprised. They are letting people try on clothes. Every other cubicle in the changing room is open, but between people going in, they're going to have like a team on site to just like decontaminate kind of thing with like a big hose.
Right.
Like the fabrics and the mirrors and all of that, which seems like very difficult. I just don't really know why they're letting people try on clothes. It just seems like a lot of effort.
Yeah.
And then the clothes have to be quarantined for 48 hours.
Yeah, that's a bit of a weird one, because some shops are allowing you to try on clothes. I was in a store recently and they said, yep, you can try on, no problem. But I think then they must take the clothes somewhere and spray them, burn them, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I hopefully not burn the poor environment.
Yeah, but then obviously some shops are saying, sorry, you can't try on clothes, you just buy it and you can return it. And to be fair, you can return it, no problem.
Yeah.
It's just a bit of a hassle then if you realise that it doesn't fit or it's not right for you, you've then got to go back to the store to take it back.
Yeah,
So,
well, I'm ashamed to say that I was probably that person that was doing massive amounts of online shopping during lockdown. And yeah, I've always been able to send things back, even from the start.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I can only presume, they're just taken to a warehouse then and like kept separately. It was really funny actually. So I tried to return some earrings, which fair enough, I hadn't actually tried on. I just got them and was like, nah, it's not me.
Yeah.
And then
You're allowed to return earrings?
No. So I sent them back, and then I got a parcel from the same company in like a week later, and I was like, oh, a freebie!
Yeah.
This is amazing. And then it was the same pair of earrings, and there was like a little left, like a note being like, hey, we're just returning these to you.
You can't return.
And I was
them.
like,
hygiene.
But I was very excited for a good like 10 minutes, like, oh, I got a freebie in the post. I had no idea.
No.
But yeah, did that make sense? I mean, I was a bit of an idiot to think
Did you
that.
try them on?
No, I didn't actually. But I mean, how would they know?
Okay, yeah.
You
I mean,
wouldn't.
you could say on your note maybe didn't try them on, but you might not be believed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, no, it is an odd one. But I'm excited to start the voluntary work there. It should be good.
Yeah, when do you start?
So I think our rotas come out later today or tomorrow. I've put myself down for like maybe 3 evening shifts a week.
Okay.
So they have morning ones, which are I think like 10 till 1 or 2, then afternoon that ends at about 6, and then I've signed up for 6 till 10.
Yeah.
Just because Oxford Street in the evening is absolutely lovely.
And that's not too far from me.
Absolutely.
Actually.
Well, we'll have many like post-work drink dates, I hope.
Yes.
And yeah, really, really lovely to
Yeah.
be back in store. But it was really bizarre. So on the shop floor, it's like essential that everyone working there is wearing a face mask. And Selfridges have said that regardless of the government's policy of 1+ meter, they are respecting 2 meters distancing.
Oh gosh, okay.
Which is quite difficult.
Yeah.
But then when we went like behind into like the staff area where there's like a little canteen kind of thing, and there was absolutely no need to wear masks apparently. So everyone took off their masks and was kind of like mixing and like not being 2 meters, etc. And it just felt really bizarre. Like I understand that that's kind of like the impression they want to give off to the customers, which is fair enough. But if you're actually kind of doing it out of like worry about the virus, it seemed really odd that we were suddenly like, you know, hugger-mugger together in the canteen and like chatting.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? After you've been with someone for a few minutes, you do just forget about socially distancing.
Absolutely.
The number of times I've met up with friends and we've just completely, like even you and I, you just completely forget, and you're walking along together and you just kind of stumble into each other.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people have just they just forgot about social distancing.
And I think even if, say, one of us didn't forget, it would be very uncomfortable for that person to be like, hey, I'm not comfortable with this. Like I remember I think it was the first friend I met up with, I think that was maybe like 2 or so months into lockdown when we were starting to be able to see people properly. Yeah. And she was like, we went out for like kind of like a park walk, and she kept kind of like brushing into me. And I felt really uncomfortable, like jumping to my right every time she did. Yeah. But, I was worried about, I was quite, worried at that point about what the consequences of that might be. And, like, the distancing was still 2 meters. And, so it was really difficult to be actually like, no, I'm not comfortable with that.
Did you say to her?
I didn't actually. But I remember another friend asking to meet up. And this was at the time when we were only allowed to see one other person at a time outside.
Yeah.
And this friend said, hey, can like our 2 other friends come? And I felt really horrible, and I said, hey, like I can't, like I don't feel comfortable with that. And like I didn't get a very good response from that.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was really difficult. It was a really difficult like a conversation. She was basically like, this is ridiculous, like it's not going to make any difference. The guidelines we knew were changing on Monday. They were changing to see 2 other households at like the same time.
Okay.
And it was Friday. And I know that is massively pernickety of me, but I was a bit like, you know, these rules are put in place for a reason.
Yeah.
If we all were like, oh, it's 2 days, then there would just be kind of like chaos in the parks. And at this point, you know, the parks were like a lot busier than they should have been.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was a very difficult conversation. But yeah, you get around it, and I mean, if people can't really respect that, then that's kind of their issue. And obviously, it's not a personal thing. You have a valid reason. But yeah, very glad we're out of those times. It feels like a long time ago now.
It does, doesn't it? I was thinking about this the other day. I was having this conversation with someone at work, just kind of thinking about what our old routine was in terms of actually going to work and being on the tube. And the tube at the moment, I would say it's still fairly busy, but nowhere near as busy as it once was.
No, absolutely.
But having said that, it's impossible to be socially distant when you're on the tube.
Yeah.
No one is socially distant.
No.
I think depending on how many people are on the tube, people do try to. They try to leave like 2 gaps in. They like two seats to every person. But then, you know, someone came and sat right next to me yesterday when I was on the tube, and
it's difficult.
Yeah, I forgot. I didn't actually realise because, you know, people were standing up and were so next to each other. Not everyone had a face mask on either.
Oh no,
actually.
absolutely.
But yeah, and then I was thinking, gosh, I remember, you know, in February, March time when I would get the tube in the morning. And I would literally be pressed up against someone like this. It was just so like sardines in a tin.
Yeah.
And so unpleasant and so gross and so unhygienic.
Yeah.
So smelly and so unsafe in a sense that.
Well, I was in Leicester Square, I think like last Friday night, and I was going up the escalators, and like in general I try and avoid holding onto rails just where I can, just to be safe. And there was like one guy, and he like let off the most enormous like wet sneeze in his like hands, and then like plastered them on the rail.
Oh god!
And I was like, okay, pre-virus, it was still quite gross.
Yeah.
Like why? And then again last night, there was one guy that got off the tube and got his Oyster card out of his wallet and then went to sanitize his hands, and so to hold the card, stuck it in his mouth, and then got out his hand sanitizer, and I was like, oh dear, that is just really defeating the point, my love.
Yeah, that's really not good.
It was well intentioned, but just badly executed.
Yeah.
People just kind of like lose that sense, you know. It's like be wise and sanitize, but what, you know, how do I hold my Oyster card? Like
the worst is when someone sneezes on the tube, because there is absolutely no escaping it until you get to the next station.
Yeah.
And no one's got any sanitizer, and it's just like that happened the other day. And so I don't think they didn't have a mask on. I don't think. So that's the thing. Not everyone is wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And this person sneezed. They didn't do the Batman sneeze like that, which is what you're supposed to do. Still,
is that what it's called? I love that.
Yeah.
It's like the dabbing sneeze.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, they sneezed. They didn't do it like Batman. And yeah, I kind of just looked around, and it was funny because other people were looking around as well, as if to say this is absolutely disgusting, but we're too British to say anything, so we're just going to look around like that, absolutely, with disapproving, furrowed brow.
If looks could kill.
Yeah. But it's just what happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is just what is going on at the moment.
Absolutely, and it is really that awkward thing of like.
You can't really say anything, like you shouldn't sneeze, because obviously you can't control sneezing. Yeah.
Well, I feel like I'm just so British. Like this morning I was coughing on the tube. I was in a mask, and like I put my hand over my mask to cough. I was like, is this necessary? Is this like a social etiquette? Am I meant to do this? Like, is there any point of doing this?
Because then it would be this, even though you've got a mask on, technically, it's still quite polite to...
Yeah, it felt a bit weird.
Yeah.
And like even when I yawn in a mask, I'm kind of like covering my mouth, which is really bizarre.
Yeah.
But it is that kind of like lacking facial expressions when you see someone.
Yeah.
So yesterday I passed someone I recognised in the street. We both had earphones in, and I would normally, you know, we don't really want to be disturbed. It was quite early morning, and I just like grinned at her, and then it occurred to me that she like made eye contact with me and was completely deadpan. And
Did
I
you
was
have a
like,
mask on?
I did, and so did she. We just got out of like the tube or the bus or something.
Oh, right.
And I was like, she didn't smile at me. And I was like, well, obviously she didn't. So then later that evening, I messaged her on Facebook, and I was like, hey, like, I don't know, like, I wasn't ignoring you. I just saw you had headphones in, and I did actually smile, but it's really hard to tell. But I thought I should just clarify that now.
Sweet.
I just thought you need to like say these things to people.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh yeah, like me too. I'm really sorry. It's just like one of those really weird things of like,
It's a very weird thing.
yeah. Or like if someone bumps into you, say by accident in the supermarket, and you like smile to say it's okay.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
there's no kind of communication.
No, there's absolutely none. There's just lots of it just feels, yeah, it's very, very strange.
We suddenly now all have Botox. This is what it
Yeah,
is.
and it's weird when you're in a shop as well, because obviously when someone speaks to you when you're in the shop, they're usually quite smiley, quite friendly.
Yeah.
And also it's quite hard to hear people sometimes when they've got a
Yeah.
mask on. Like I have to say, sorry, can you repeat that kind of thing? Because I actually can't
Absolutely.
understand you because of the
Especially
mask.
in kind of like a bar setting.
Yeah, or a restaurant. It's actually really hard to
Yeah,
understand
because a lot of
someone.
places do say, you know, obviously when you're eating, take off your mask. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
going up to the bar, they do expect you to wear a mask. And like, actually, I've been to a bar where they refused to serve me because I didn't have a mask
Gosh.
at the bar.
But then you've got to take the mask off to drink, so it just seems...
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it was like massively difficult to hear because
yeah.
I have quite a low voice and quite a soft tone anyway.
Yeah.
And just there was absolutely no way he could have heard me.
Especially if they're far away as well. You can't,
with
it's-
music going on in the background,
Yeah.
it's really difficult.
Yeah.
And in fact, like the other day in the shop, like there was this like elderly woman in front of me, and she was like disabled or had like a walking stick or something, and like dropped her shopping. And like instinctively, I bent down, and then I was like, "I'm really sorry. I feel like I shouldn't touch your things."
Yeah.
And she was like, okay.
Gosh.
And so
yeah.
then like I got like one of the checker like people to come over with gloves and help her
Yeah,
pick it
yeah,
up.
yeah.
But again, it's just like instinct. You try and help someone out. If someone falls
Yeah.
over, grab them or something.
Yeah.
Which is really bizarre. Now you're like, I'm really sorry. But I think again, like it's kind of you've got to use your own like judgment in those situations.
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. The likelihood of transferring a virus if someone like very disabled and they'll drop something is probably
Yeah.
quite slim.
Yeah.
It's-
That's
yeah.
true. That's true.
But so how was your work? So the last time we met, you were like the only one in the office most days, I think I remember.
Yeah,
You were
that was
going
a
in-
while ago.
Yeah,
I think.
it was about
yeah.
a month and a half ago maybe.
Yeah, I was. Oh, yeah. That was partially because everyone was on holiday as
Oh.
well. So it wasn't just because.
People weren't going in.
Yeah, I mean it was partly that, but also because everyone was on holiday. Because I think
Yeah.
it was the end of July, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I said, things do feel quite normal in the office.
Okay.
Obviously, the only difference is that we haven't got people coming to the office, which used to be kind of like one of my main responsibilities was welcoming people when they came to the office and showing them into the room and stuff. But yeah, we haven't got any of that. Apart from we've got people coming in next week, I think, for a meeting, which will be quite...
Your coffee making skills we put to the test
Yes,
after all this time.
yes, it's been a while, but that would be quite strange actually because, yeah, usually you come and you greet someone, you take their coat and stuff, but I don't know if I'm going to be having to be distant.
Manhandling.
Yes,
It's an
it'll be
odd one.
interesting. Yeah.
So how many
very
people
strange.
then are like coming in on a daily basis at your work?
It varies. It really does vary. Yesterday we had about 4 or 5 people come in, and it's really nice actually to kind of see everyone and kind of be social, because I do think that one of the hardest things about this pandemic is if you live by yourself and you have a flat in the city, for example, and you live with one other person who then went home for lockdown, you have had no social interaction for however many months.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're so I think it's all great if you've got family back home and stuff, but if you're living by yourself in a city in a cramped apartment with no space, and you haven't got that social interaction that you have at work, then it it's going to be really, really hard for you. But having said that, going back into work will be really, really good because you're having that interaction again.
I certainly felt very rusty with the first friend meeting up. It was really
I did
bizarre.
as well actually. I was like, oh, I've forgotten how to socialise.
Yeah, exactly. It was really odd.
Well, we will definitely be socialising more now that we're back at the radio station.
Well, yeah,
so.
100%. And again,
Yes.
like I really missed the kind of like just having like a routine
Yeah,
in that
me
sense.
too. Me too.
Coming in the morning, airing and sharing all the embarrassing parts of my life.
Yes.
That is the great thing to do here.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I think that does it for today.
Yeah.
We will be back here again next Saturday from 9 o'clock, so please do
Same
tune
time,
in.
same place.
Yes, hopefully no technical difficulties this time, which I think is another problem.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't even blame it on Zoom or anything.
No,
we can't blame it on the Wi-Fi or anything.
We can blame it on Mevo this time. I feel.
Yes, and just us being a bit rusty.
Yeah,
I think.
absolutely.
Definitely.
Well, I'm still not fully got to grips with the studio. Rach is definitely the technical whiz.
Oh, I doubt that very
Missing
much.
Nuria, who was the technical whiz.
She will be back soon, hopefully.
Yes,
within a few weeks, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah. The uni show is very much here to stay.
Brilliant.
Definitely.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed the show today. I'm Kate.
I'm Rach.
And you've been listening to Relax Radio.
Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Yes, we need to record that. Okay, just turn all of that.
Right.
Turn all of that down. Microphones are off. And then I think... Oh my god, we'll be on for an hour.
Is that good?
Yeah.